Welcome to the Time for Heroes podcast.
Listening to the Time for Heroes podcast.
David, thank you very much for coming on. What pleasure to speak to you. I only heard your music 2 weeks ago. I'll give the guy a shout out. It's Graham Booth at Radio West Fife, I think it is. I might have butchered that. Graham's a boy that I met through a friend on Facebook, and he's got a radio show, and I started listening to his show a few weeks back, listening to the Thursday night going to work, and I think you were the second song that he played, and it was fucking banging. Obviously, I'm walking to my work, and the song came on, and it sounded like fucking the Charlatans to me. So I think I get down to work about 10-15 minutes quicker because I had that fucking swagger on. So that's how I came to hear yous, and as I mentioned to you on the chat earlier, you've been like my latest earworm. So
that's a compliment.
So what I like to do is get back to the start, but probably first just tell us about the band, like who the band is. Obviously yourself. Who else is in the band?
It's me, my two best mates, Cammy Finlay and Jack Dillon. It's Cammy on the bass. It was me and him that first started it because we were playing together when we were about first year, and then we had a couple of drummers and singers and stuff that didn't work out. And then one of my other best mates has a cousin who played drums, and he was this kind of mythical creature. I'll get my cousin for a jam, and then it never happened. And then one day he was having a party, and we were saying, Jack Dillon might be coming, and he's finally going to meet him. And then he showed up, and Ross had the drum kit all set up in his spare room, so he showed up, and it was like the animal going daft. And after I was like, right there and then, I was like, do you want to join my band? And he's like, right, and that was that.
Right. What we'll do then, we'll go back to the start, and then we're going to kind of piece your career together, because I've been on Instagram all day fucking looking at it. Right back to the start then, obviously before the band, like early life, what was life like for a young Dave growing up? Where were you from? What were you up to as a nipper?
Just like everybody else. I don't know. I grew up at my council house in Girdle Toll in Irvine, and so did all the other boys in the band. Don't know, just running about, jumping in rivers and climbing trees and things like that, same as everybody else. And then my dad played in a band called Full Circle, so he's a genius at guitar, and I've obviously watched him my whole life, so that's how I got into music, because there was always guitars lying about the house that I would just pick up.
So how early are we talking, and like how early was it that you thought to yourself, music's what I want to do?
Probably forever. Well, I don't know, I remember listening to Stone Roses in the car with my dad when I was about as young as I could be. I remember Don't Look Back Into the Sun coming in the radio when I was like 5, and I used to dance a bit to that, so that was one of the first songs I liked. I think we kind of sound a bit like that, so maybe that's why. That's where we got it for.
That just makes me feel really old, because I can remember when that came out, and I was dancing about it when I was like about fucking 19, 20, so...
I think I was about 3 or 4 or something.
So, obviously, your pals, you met them at school and all that. Was there any other musical projects before the band, or was it just, is this the first thing?
No, well, the thing was, there was a band in Irvine called Ocean Views that didn't have a bass player, and I joined when I was 16, and they were all at 20. So I was really young. Like, they used to have to come and pick me up, and then they would like sneak me into the pub with them and things like that. So that was how I first started like playing in bands. I played with them, and then that all kind of fizzled away, but the name kind of stuck because other folk kept coming to jam, and we changed the name a couple of times. We were called Squires and other things like that, but we were he was known as Ocean Views, like we were in the pub. So eventually I says, we'll just keep that name, Ocean Views. I mean, it had a kind of magic thing about it. We've been floating about for about 5 years, even though.
And in Ayrshire, obviously coming from Irvine, and looking at your gigs, you played all sorts of places, a lot of different places in Ayrshire, all the different towns. So what's the Ayrshire music scene like? Obviously, I've had a couple of bands on. I've had the Local Authority. I've had the Blonde Parade. The Blonde Parade, I think they split up. Obviously, Brown Bears Fair that way as well. So there's quite a bit of talent. So what's the kind of scene like over that way?
I wouldn't really say there's much I've seen. There was a wee bit when I was younger. There was loads of bands cutting about, but it all kind of died a death. Especially around about COVID, it died a death. And I don't know. It's mostly just, I would say, like, there's loads of kind of guys playing acoustic guitar with a stomp box in the pubs, do you know what I mean, doing covers and things like that. There's loads of that. But as for bands, it was really just us and the Tokes, and they were a kind of wee young band that was younger than us, that were all maniacs. So when we played gigs, we used to get them to support us, and then we ended up taking them all over the country. Ways like we used to take them down to Liverpool and things like that. They would
Hmm.
just be wrecking the place. They were kind of like our wee brothers, kind of.
Yeah, because I used to, I managed a band for a couple of years. I think it's been a year that I've been away from them, but they played that venue 38. It was Gary for local authority that got us a gig,
I bet you
and
think it was basically what we did with apprenticeship. We did used
but
to do a limelight on a Friday just about fortnightly. For
well,
about
that was maybe about maybe 2 years ago, and they played it, and the place was dead.
aye, well, that's what I was going to say. I think we played there every Friday for about 6 months or something, and it was always like we would bring 20 of our mates, and that was it. And then it was like, oh, what we doing this Friday? Everybody got to Ayr again to play to an empty hall. I mean, like,
Mm.
that's kind of what it was like. But that was kind of our apprenticeship, I suppose. All I got was used to playing in big stages and things like that.
I guess it looks a cracking venue. Obviously, I take it it's like an old nightclub, is it? Where the band plays, it's like up on the kind of stage.
Amy and all the guys, like the sound engineers, were amazing, and like the guys that ran it were all sound Gavin McMulkin and all that. They were all like really good
Hmm.
guys that believed in it, but it just nobody came. It was like the first time we went, all our mates went, "Oh, it's a golf place. I'm not coming back here." And then I think that was the kind of vibe that everybody got. So nobody wanted
Yeah.
to go to a golf bar.
So looking through your Instagram as I have been today, obviously it starts in 2020. So is that round about when you started it?
Well, me and Cammy were kind of trying to start the band since we were about 16, and we were always jamming and stuff and playing about. But it was like locked in about a studio. I moved house. We'd stayed in the same place until I was 19, and then we moved house to kind of put just up kind of in the sticks. And I had a garage on it, so we got to build a studio in there. So it was like kind of rehearsal room for us. So in lockdown, basically, we used to practice in there every day. Like, the boys would all come. Don't know, when everybody else was hiding in the house, we were rehearsing, not like religiously, just about every day, till we were decent enough to start doing gigs once the lockdown ended. So all our songs were written during the lockdown. It was kind of like you didn't need to go to work anymore, so you could rehearse full time. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a kind of blessing in disguise. I mean,
Yeah.
6 months off work on furlough to get to rehearse full time.
And like you say, all these songs written, so because like obviously there's an early recording, an early video is Cider Blues, which was your first single, but like
Uh,
3 years down the line. So all these songs that you were playing back then, did the majority of them make it onto the album?
Aye, I'd say so, aye. There was like the album's just songs that we'd been writing since we were 16, and then it was all the kind of best of ones that made it to the album, like Shire and Freedom and things like that.
Hmm.
Cider Blues. Cider Blues was because it was locked in, and I was right into building scooters, so I was rebuilding a Vespa, and I would be in the hut, and I would like be doing like building, like taking the engine off. And then if I wanted a wee break, I had my notepad next to me, and I think I rewrote the lyrics to Cider Blues about 300 times. Then I had the kind of studio to make me demos, so I think I made about 150 different demos of Cider Blues, so that when Jack finally joined the band, he like already had all the drum parts there, and Cammy already had all the bass parts. So, you know what I mean, everything was already there, and it'd been like written and rewritten and demoed and redemoed until it was about right.
Mm. And is that how like see your songwriting then, like as you were kind of writing all the parts? What's that like now? Do the other two take more involvement in it now? Or?
The first album I demoed every song, and I got every part basically to a T. And then with the EP was supposed to be a second album. We recorded a full album, but there was it wasn't. I didn't think it was as good as the first album, and I didn't want to bring it something worse. So we had kind of good quality control. I just released the 4 best songs.
Hmm.
Half that album was an EP, which like stands in itself. I'd say that's probably as good, if not better, than the first album. Uh, but that was kind of more like that. It was more like I had them demoed, but I would just come in and play them. And then it was kind of a bit more like Cammy would join in and write his own bass part, and then Jack would kind of write the drums.
Right. So 2020 first gig, the Gulab in Irvine, is
Aye,
that correct? So how was that then? Kind of going on stage for the first time as a band, how did it feel?
it was mental. I didn't sleep that night. I remember like, I just started my apprenticeship, and we were working, and I had been up for like 2 days or something, and you're working full time and all, so I was absolutely knackered. I remember doing a shift and all the guys were like, "Oh, you playing the Gula tonight?" And I'm like, "Aye," and then they were all coming, and then all our mates came, and there was a couple of other guys in the band, I know, that have left now, guys that I'd go up with, so then they all came. So it was basically the full tune was there. Aye, and it was mental. It was like that. You spend your whole life kind of wanting to be, when you see folk doing mosh pits, and then you always
Mhm.
imagine that you're going to be like, folk are going to be doing that to you. And then I remember we played Same Jeans to finish off the gig, and everybody was moshing, and I remember, I don't know, it kind of blew my mind. I was like, oh, it's finally happened, my dreams come true, you know what I mean?
The following year, 2021, looking at your gigs, you done the Keg in Paisley, Bolton Inn and Kilwinning, Ayrshire and Kilmarnock, New 38 and Ayers. Kind of still round about your local area. Obviously, the one, the Keg in Paisley, one of your early gigs, and looking through your career then, you've been back every year at that for their food and drink festival.
Uh,
So how 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 important do you think that is to kind of make the connections? Because obviously you've made that connection it's stuck with you right through your career so far.
that's the only thing that matters. See, like, sometimes we do gigs and folk will be like, "Oh, I can't be bothered doing that," and I'll be like, "Aye, but every time we do a gig, we always meet somebody." You know what I mean? And it always matters. Like every time you do a gig, you'll meet somebody, and there'll be some opportunity that'll come through that. I
Mhm.
mean, it doesn't matter if there's three folk at the gig. Like, we played in Whistle Binkies, and nobody really was watching us or anything, but the sound guy liked us, and then he had a studio in Edinburgh, and that's how we recorded our second album. That's how we recorded the Albion EP. And there is things like that. Like, aye, we played the Keg in Paisley was good because it was just a kind of wee tiny pub, and I think they were expecting a cover band to come. But then we
Mhm.
showed up. We'd got a 30-seater bus with all of our mates to come, and we were everybody steaming and saw cans of lager. And then we pure descended up on the pub, and there was like a big crowd there. Do you know what I mean? There was folk moshing and stuff. And I remember the guy, he'd paid us double the wage for doing the gig. It was £100 and he gave us 200, and then kept getting us back and getting us back. Aye, so the Kegs, like, really, that was our first proper gig. That was like our first kind of real gig as a band, and we've always
Mhm.
went back there to kind of pay back Trevor. And Trevor's brand new because he ran the Keg and got us all those kind of early gigs, and then he also done the Food and Drink Festival, which was like a kind of when we started going to a bigger stage. You know what I mean? Getting to play to like
Mhm.
hundreds of folk instead of just maybe 80 folk. And also we won the Tenement Trail. We got to play at Belladrum, and we were backstage getting ready to go, and Trevor was there working, which I thought was like a mad coincidence. Like he volunteered to work there. So there was the guy that was there at our first gig, like kind of ushering his own stage to play at Belladrum, which was
22 was your first gig, January, and Sleazy's in Glasgow. What was that like then going in, like your first gig in Glasgow? How does that feel? 'Cause Glasgow's where it's at for me. That's where I go to all my gigs.
the Nice and Sleazy was brilliant because I remember we were supporting a band, and the band on the floors were quite crap. They were quite quiet, and I remember we went on and I just turned my amplifier up like twice as loud as them, and then we just played twice as fast as them, and like, I think we kind of blew everybody away. But I remember there was a couple of Chester guys like in the kind of in the front seats, and as soon as we played the first chord of the first song, Side of Blues, it was like dang, and I remember they all jumped up at their seats. They were like yes, and then after the gig, like we basically kidnapped them all because we'd showed up in a bus again, big team of other mates, like 20s or something, and I was like, "Do you want to come back to Ayrshire?" And they're like, "Hey, these boys are wanting us to go back to Ayrshire, eh? You want to jump on the bus, eh?" And they were like, and then they ended up jumping on me, and like left like four of their mates behind, and we brought them back to my studio, and like, we had a mad gaff until about 7 in the morning with them, and yeah, they couldn't get home or anything, their phones were all dead. They had to sleep in my shed.
Fucking opposite side of the country if we were
Uh,
meant to be.
uh,
Um, aye, so for that then, I mean, that's just, it's more gigs again this year. Obviously back to the Keg, you done broadcast in Glasgow, you done couple of festivals, you done Real Ale Festival in Ardrossan, Press Fest, and in October that year, you played in broadcast again with This Feeling.
uh,
I've not seen any other This Feeling shows on your kind of career, but how was the This Feeling? How did that
uh,
come about?
well, I think I don't know. I wasn't impressed with this feeling, to be honest with you, because that was another case of it was a Halloween gig, so we had got dressed up and we'd got a 33-seater bus. So all our mates came and everybody's dressed up, and it was like hunters days, and it was a big good vibe. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was like we were all buzzing, and the folk were drinking on the way up. So we arrived there, and like we went down the stairs, and it was like it was just all our mates, and like the band that played before us took all their pals and went upstairs. The band that were playing after us took all their pals and went upstairs. So we played to our 30 pals that we could have played to in Marine Garage. You know what I mean? And then
Mm.
I think the guy played us. He paid us like 40 quid or something. And then it was all jump in the bus and then go back game to Irvine. And I remember thinking, yous are just vampires. Like, we've put all this effort into put a bus on and come up here, play the blind at a gig. thinking that it's going to be a stepping stone or something like that. But what it was it was just a money making scheme. They're basically saying, bring all your mates to my basement and charge them money to watch you play, and then we'll not pay you. So after this feeling gig, we decided not to play Glasgow again. We just decided from now on we're going to do the Gulab and local pubs where all our mates can come and see us for free. You know what I mean? And we'll get an even bigger crowd. Because I thought the Glasgow scene with the club scene and all that broadcast and that, so I just vampires. I just want to like, take advantage of your pals, basically.
Well, that's kind of, I mean, I've always been a big supporter of this feeling. Obviously, like the bands that the guests have had on, especially maybe the early guests, maybe like the first 60 guests, hundreds of this feeling bands, and you see the kind of conveyor belt. But recently, man, you're probably the third or fourth guy that's kind of had maybe a bad experience with them. So I think it's something, because when I managed the band, I was kind of like, right, this feeling, we need to get this feeling show.
We thought that and all. We thought it was like some sort of big deal, but it's just they need to make money and all. Do you know what I mean? They're not trying to make superstars; they're trying to make money.
So, that's the vibe I'm getting now. It's no, oh, it's cracked up to be, and you can do just as well out in your own, sorting your own gigs.
I'd say that's I'd say 100%. The best that the
So, obviously, you said that you weren't playing Glasgow again. That the following year, 2020, you done Harley's in Air, you done the Whistle Binkies gig, and you done a couple of gigs at the Waterside. In May, you released Cider Blues. That's your debut release. So obviously you've talked about like your debut gig. So how was it then? Like the first time you release music out in the world, what does that feel like?
Aye, magic, aye. It's scary because after we recorded it, the guy was sending us the mixes and I couldn't, I refused to listen to it, you know what I mean? Because I was too worried that I wasn't going to like it, do you know what I mean? It's that way, like, because you put all your hopes and dreams into what you think this thing's going to be and you've been working on it for so long. We ended up, the guy that mixed it didn't, I don't know, we didn't really get along with him because it was like, he was like charging us money to go to the studio and then we were like standing outside his studio, four of them, and like pressing the buzzer, and he was like in the studio with his mates bevying, you know what I mean, and then we would like, finally let us in like 3 years later. We'd been standing out in the rain, you know what I mean, and then he's like, oh hey man, yeah, sorry about that, and then it's like then his pals are all hanging about there, and like, it's just I thought the guy was a bit of an idiot, but we finally finished recording it, and he mixed it, and then he didn't like the mix, and then he was like refusing to let us come back into the studio because he didn't like the mix. Like I was saying, oh, I don't want my studio to sound like that because of the mix, and I was like, oh, just give me the blood. So he was trying to like withhold the stems phase and things like that. Right. But it ended up. See the bass player for the Shambolics, a guy called Scott Thompson. Well, he's a legend, so we ended up because that was like one of my favourite bands, Shambolics, and I loved their mixes. So I reached out to him, and he had that mixing Cider Blues, and that was the one that the guy at the studio didn't like, but we just basically told him to fuck off, and we released it anyway. Because it was, you know what I mean, the guy's great at mixing. I think he's like really clean and neat, and I don't know, he was like their biggest ally in the early days. Like he was like their secret weapon, Scott Thompson. He was a legend.
So how did you meet him? Just did you contact him or was that?
He had a studio. I can't remember what it's called, but and then the studio had shut down, but he was still doing mixes for him. So it just we sent him the stems up.
They had a studio in Glasgow. Did they know at one point? The Shambolics?
Eggman or something.
Eggman, aye. So working with him, single comes out, and then July you done Belladrum and Butefest, on the same day. So how was that? What one of them? My mate played the La Fontaines, Jamie. Jamie Keenan, the drummer, they played that.
I did.
Was it no fucking? Was the weather no terrible as well?
It was. That was amazing. That was like because we applied for a tournament trail competition, and then that was what got us the the Belladrum gig at the Garden stage. And so we basically opened for like that stage, and it was like Dylan John Thomas was headlining it. So it was cool. We were in the same changing room with him, and it was on the the backstage and the side. It was Ocean Views and Dylan John Thomas. So we thought that was class, like as if we were up there with him. So we drove all the way to Inverness, Loch Ness the night before, and then we stayed at the campsite, and then we were way down to the loch, and we were just all drinking cans, smoking doobies, and playing guitars and harmonicas and all that down at the loch, and then went back to bed, woke up the next morning, drove to Belladrum, played the gig, and I'd lost my car keys, so we didn't know how we were going to get to Butefest. and I'm like through the PA like halfway through the gig. By the way, I've lost my car keys. If anybody sees them, I'll come and see us. And then we went back to the car, and it turned out we'd sat them on top of the motor, so it was kind of no panic. Then drove 500 miles back all the way down to Wembley to get the ferry there, or whatever it is. And then all our mates were in Buttefest because they weren't going to come all the way up to Belgium, but they knew we were playing Buttefest, so they all got the ferry there. And then I, like my mum and dad and all their family and all, it was hundreds of folk there. So that was brilliant. That was like the Buttefest. We played at 10 o'clock at night, so we were the one before the headline. And then,
Right.
so that was brilliant. There was like, I don't know, 1,000 folk in the tent or something. It was packed, and I remember it was just a buzzing. Like as soon as we played, like first song, second song, third song was amazing. And I remember like just telling around looking at Cammy while we were playing, like, and like fucking hell, man, like place is bouncing and everybody's getting right into it. Then
You must have felt like proper rock stars then,
aye, that was
travelling all the way down there, and then you get this big, massive crowd ready for you.
it was brilliant. And after it, there was hundreds of bands for like Liverpool and stuff there, and all sorts of bands. And we all went back to the band tent, and it was like teaming arranged, so everybody's hiding in here. And we had like acoustic guitars, and we're all singing the La's and Cast and things like that until about 5 o'clock the next morning. And we ended up keeping in contact with all the bands, and like ended up being really good mates with them. So we've been up and down to Liverpool, Cheshire, they're from Winsford.
Yeah, I've seen that.
They've been coming up and down with us. Like we ended up being really good. But Scal, they're called. They were called Riverstone at the time, but they changed their name and they're called Scal.
Well,
That's their name.
because that comes up next then. So you, obviously after this, as I say, you says you wouldn't play Glasgow again. Your next gig in Glasgow, King Tut's. So you done King Tut's, then you done Tenement Trail, and then that's when you, after that, you went down to Cheshire and played with Scal. So before we delve into Scal, what was it like playing Tuts? Because I mind when I get the band, we played Sleazy's, and we get, I think that weekend the community Sleazy's, and then that weekend we were meant to begin to record their first single, and it was in one of the colleges in Glasgow or something, because the bass player's lecturer was going to let them use it. It
Was that Seven West or something? Or?
can't mind what it was, but it was the Scottish Cup final weekend, right? And we got a message through saying the lecturers were going on strike and the recording was cancelled. We couldn't get in. And we were fucking gutted because we just played Sleazy's. We were going to record this single and everybody was in a downer. And I was like, listen, guys, something will come up. And the next day we get the email through offering us King Tut's. So it's sometimes just the way things work out. You take it down, and then there's a high coming right after it. So
I think, see, you'll never play a good gig when something bad's happened before. I think sometimes you've played gigs and it's like, I don't know, I'll smash a back window in my car or something like that by accident, and then like, everybody's gutted and raging, or something like that will happen, like losing your car keys. There's always a downer before you get the big high. I think, it's what like.
Because I still think to this date that first Tuts gig was their best.
Aye.
So how was it for you playing Tuts?
It was great. There was another one where it was like everybody for Irvine was dead excited about it because it was like, oh, you're playing. I don't know, it just seemed like a big gig. Like we were playing, like I play football with my pals. We all play sevens at Ayrshire, and I remember it was like there was loads of random folk there, like, oh, you playing King Tut's? If it was a big thing that was going to happen, do you know what I mean? And it was great. We played, and the place was packed, and it was a great gig. And then the same folk for DF concerts, go to because we met Mickey Nines at Buttefest as well. So then DF concerts got us to play SWG3, and that was the biggest gig we'd done. That was a 500 cap at the warehouse. So we done one at the King Tut's, it was great, and then we done the warehouse at SWG3, and that was the really big one. That was probably the best one.
And they would go to Tenement Trail as well.
Aye, so it was winning the tenement. It was the competition that goes to Tenement Trail. That was good, but I remember we played at like 12 o'clock in the morning or something, and there was maybe about, I don't know, a place that held about 1,000 folk. It was probably about 60 folk. You know what I mean? Like our mates were there, but it was like, wasn't obviously the way it was at 8 o'clock at night.
Aye. And then this is obviously around about this time as well. You went down to Cheshire with Scal, who you'd met at Buttefest. So, and looking through your career for then, that relationship's still there. So I kind of tell us a wee bit about kind of the band and how you formed that bond and how it's helped. both of yous?
Well, I'd say it was that night at Buttefest, you know what I mean? Staying up to 5 in the morning, letting when you don't know these folk, and then you all realise, oh, you like Casting, oh, you like the Lads. I remember I was singing Feeling, and then we were singing Sandstorm, and like the whole tent singing it. And we'd never really done things like that before with other bands, but that became like a running theme because then you go down. We brought them up to play at the Print House in there first, and then they got us their Halloween gig down there. And
Mhm.
we went, that was unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? Like we went down there and it was one of the ones like folk are kind into music in Scotland, but down there that's like where the Beatles are fae, and you know what I mean, round about that area. Like it's near Spronston Green where the Charlatans kind of grew up. Do you know what I mean? That's Spronston Green's right next to Winsford where we were playing.
Mhm.
So like I remember it was like Halloween and one of the guys was singing "I Am the Walrus" and the whole tune was there and the whole tune sang it word for word. Do you know what I mean? Like they were all into music. It was one of
Aye.
these tunes where everybody's into music. And I remember it was just amazing. So they loved us, and then we were like cutting about like with the full tune after it. Like I don't know, it was like just getting to know everybody. And then like the next morning, we'd stayed in the tune across, and we had to walk back to the car. So we're all like hungover, taps off, like walking back. Then all the cars are beating it. It's like there's the Scottish boys, and they're all waving it and stuff. And then we got them back up to play in Irvine when we released our album. And then they got us back there again and we played in there again. And so it's just kind of been up and down. Like it was kind of like twin tunes now, Irvine and Winsford.
That smaller version of Boston and Glasgow.
That kind of it's like because we were bringing buses down to all our mates and all. Do you know what I mean? Like I think the last time we played there, we brought like 20 folk down there. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, and then they got to know all our mates, and then there was a big group chat. And you know what I mean? Like,
Aye.
and then when they played Butte, they came back up to play Butte Fest, and it was the same thing. Like it was just like meeting all the old mates again. So
Well, that's the thing. Music brings people together, doesn't it? And
uh,
see what you two bands have done, and there'll be people that would never have been pals with each other that are now pals. Aye, that's
it's time, man.
beautiful, man.
It was amazing. And I remember like being backstage with them and doing like again, sitting with acoustic guitar singing Sandstorm and everybody's singing it, do you know what I mean? There's like maybe like I don't know, 20s backstage singing it and then like the year later they were like, remember that time we sang Sandstorm? It was fucking magical, man. Like I don't know,
Mhm.
like you get moments like that that are wee.
I'm pals with so many folk up in Dundee just through the view
Aye,
because like, all the early gigs, I would just go out and talk to people and just like I'd find all their mates and
aye,
like now we're all mates all these years later, 20 years down the line or whatever,
aye,
man.
aye, it
And
works like that, doesn't it?
fucking Kyle's mates are better than Kyle, you know what I mean?
Aye, well. Well, a time she played in Irvine, at the Harbour Arts Centre.
Mhm.
I remember we were just wee guys though. That was like 2 weeks before the first School Lab gig. I remember we were like, oh, I was like saying the venue's got a lighter, and we're like, aye, Ken like thinking we'd met like God himself. Do you know what I mean? And then we're like, oh, we're playing the Gulab. Why don't you come and we'll support you? And you can play the gig instead and things like that. It's like, aye, man, I think about it.
So before you played SWG3, you released the second single Rain Clouds, with the album to follow, in March the following year. So how was it like? Did you have the album ready? And was there a release plan? Were you sorting the releases yourself?
I don't know. We just get a bit caught up with playing all the gigs. You know what I mean? It was all dead exciting, and we weren't really we'd forgot about the plan to release the album. You know what I mean? Like, I think we were planning to release it in like July, and
Right.
you just get caught up with too many gigs and practicing and rehearsing. I mean, life gets in the way. I've not got time to be sitting making extra music videos. Like the Side Up Blues music video took us ages, but it was class. Like we were just basically getting steaming and running about like doing dafties.
Mhm.
And the Rain Clouds one was the same. We were like trying to animate it, so we're all out like every weekend. I mean, this I don't know if you've seen this the start of the animation bit like that took ages to do that, and cutting about the scooter and things like that. So
Mhm.
like we filmed most of that in like September, and I hadn't edited it until about November, and then I think I just put it out because I was thinking, oh, I'm not going to put it out if I don't put it out, so we just released it. That one, I don't think Rain Clouds was as good to be honest with you. I think it wasn't until the album came out that it was But Fast On It Wine that it kind of kicked us back off again, and we needed
Right.
that on the album. Like we went that wasn't originally we had the album done and But Fast On It Wine wasn't on it, but I remember being like 15 or 14 and 15 when it's kind of when you hang about the park, these are all waiting in jump ins and things like that. And I remember like I'd heard this all punk band running riot, doing But Fast On It Wine, and thinking, "Ah, that's shite." But see if a band was to do it, I mean, kind of poppy way,
Aye.
I thinking that would be brilliant. And then, so I forgot about that, and then I remembered it, and then the boys were like, "Aye, let's do it." So we went and done it. Like we kind of rewrote all the words to be doing about Irvine and things like that.
No, it's really good, man. 2024 then, before the album came out, Epic King Tut's again. Airport and Dylan Squire. How is Dylan? Is he as good as his father?
Well, nobody's as good as John Squire, are they? Aye, he's brand new. Aye, he's a big, nice big guy. I didn't really speak to him much, to be honest with you. I think we were just kind of living pirates and running about doing our own wee thing. I don't remember that gig being as good. The first gig at King Tut's was amazing. Do you know what I mean? And that gig was good, but it wasn't like as magical. I didn't think. I thought I was a bit more laddie, and everybody was just kind of there for a bevy. Kind of. I remember
Ah,
that so there was loads of American guys up working at my work, and they knew that I was playing, so they all came, which I thought was cool. So they're all there with their cowboy hats and stuff like that. And
I get what you're saying though. Like, see, like as I said earlier, man, like the first time you play Tuts, it's
uh,
different for anything else. I think once you play it the second time, the magic's wore off.
I did definitely did wear off. It was kind of it was good. It was all right. I enjoyed it. It was no bad.
So then the album came out in March. It's called Introducing the Merry Magic Fucking Fantastic Ocean Views.
Aye,
I can't believe I said that so perfect. So the album came out, you had an album launch at Pictures in Irvine, so back to your hometown for the album launch. And I mean, the sound of the album, because it's like you said about Nice and Sleazy's, that the Edinburgh guys, as soon as you started playing, they were up.
aye,
That's what it's got right away. It's got the energy.
aye,
It's got the bounce. Sound wise, man, you've got the like the Liverpool sound at times as well, like you were touching on, like Cast and the Lads.
aye,
Other points it sounds I can hear like Ash.
aye,
Um and maybe like some of the Scottish bands, the more studenty bands. Like I've got a pal for school back in the day. He was in a band called the Hector Collectors. She like Belle and Sebastian with a bit of humour in it.
aye,
There a sound of that in it, and then obviously probably standout track for me in that album is Freedom. Like looking through your stuff, obviously you're a big mod, you're into the Vespers and all that. I mean, that's got the fucking Who written all here at that intro, right,
aye.
all the way through the song. So was that kind of, what sort of sound were you going for? Was it just kind of a melting pot of everything?
Aye, well, I wanted like Stone Roses and the Who. Aye, that was basically it. I wanted the Stone Roses, the Who, and the View
Mm.
into one band, and then and I was also into Cast and the Lads, so I just a mix of them. Aye. I was
Aye,
a lot of it's ripping off my father right enough. His guitar playing. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's
right.
like the ding dealing dealing that kind of thing. Like, that kind of sounds like almost like bagpipes or something. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like country dancing almost like rock and roll.
And then for the release of the album, it's just after that, it's just been a mad tour the rest of the year, basically. So you named the tour the Buckfast Tonic Tour.
Aye,
Um, so April Paisley Food and Drink Festival. May you played EBGB's down in Liverpool. June back to the Gulab in up in Dunfermline as well. Butte Fest, Pictures in Irvine, back down to Cheshire with Scal, and then finished in December again at the Gulab. There was one gig in there as well in September, which you posted on Instagram, but then there didn't seem to be any follow up on it. It was Tom Hingley support.
aye. No, that
So
happened. Aye.
did that happen? How did that go? Just I know a wee boy that supported him not that long ago, so just want to see what your opinions of the Tom Hingley gig were.
Aye, that whole tour was mental. Aye, that was when like, we met the Tokes and all that, and it was all just a bit like fast on it, wine and every day. Let's get on it and let's go mental. And then we met a guy, a sound guy called Aidan Stewart. We'd done a gig in Ayr and we met him, and he's from Dunfermline, so he got us the gigs in Dunfermline, and it was like similar thing. We were going up there and meeting loads of mates, and I mean, we kept in contact with them, so we sometimes go up there to keep doing stuff. I had a Tom Hingley gig. That was at the Irvine Harbour Arts Centre. And that was cool because I was right into the laws and all the kind of weird acoustic stuff, and I was starting to write weird acoustic songs, and we've never released them. But that gig we did, because Tom Hingley was playing stripped back, we played with just two acoustic guitars and a stripped back kit, so it was just a kick drum and a snare, and we were doing really lazy stuff. And I really want to record all those songs and release them because it's nothing like anything we do. And now it's dead skiffily, like kind of like feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like, that was a kind of good one and all because it was a bit more like, because that whole tour was just madness. We were just running about, you know what I mean, playing mental punk rock gigs and getting steaming and stuff. But that was like a kind of good gig where it was we were all focused and trying to play really well and doing harmonies and like, you know what I mean, like, taking it seriously. And Tom Hingley was brand new. I remember he liked us, and then after it we were hanging about with him for a while. We were telling him stories and stuff like that. And we got along with him that good that He ended up the year after. He played 2 gigs, Glasgow and Dundee, and
Mm-hmm.
he got us to support him again for them two. And bloody end up. I gave him a line of my capo because he'd lost his capo, and he says, "Oh, I'll give you it back next one." And we went to Dundee, and I was like, "You've got my capo," and he's like, "So I do. I'll give you it back after a gig." And then after a gig, we never met up again. So he's still got my capo to this day.
Well, if I get him on the podcast, I'll chin him for it.
But I thought the guy was brand new. He was always hanging about with us after it and before it. We were sitting having a good. He's got loads of funny stories. And see, when we first found out we were doing the gig, I went and bought his book, and so I'd read that before I'd actually met the guy, which I thought was quite cool.
So that kind of finishes 2024, 25. Kind of started slowly, no gigs or that, and then March you released the Albion EP.
Ah,
So obviously you said that was going to be an album, and you kind of cut it down to the 4 songs. So the track listing for that is Granny's Crazy Conspiracy Theory, Fickle Finn, Fuck Forever, and Albion. So
ah,
like when I looked at that straight away, seen 2 Libertines songs, and I've seen Granny's Crazy Conspiracy, which I fucking right away thought Jimmy's Crazy Conspiracy with the View.
ah.
So obviously listening to them, they're no they fucking songs. They're your own stamp on. Well, they're your own songs. So what was the reason for the song titles?
Right, so Granny's Crazy Conspiracy was originally called Egyptians and Englishmen, and it was basically my granny Maureen loves a conspiracy theory, and ever since I was a wee boy, I would go round to her house and it'd be fucking the next thing the Earth's flat, and then about chemtrails, and then about fluoride in the water, and I mean, you got every time I would go around, it would be something different. And it's brilliant, but I like things like that. It's like good for your imagination. So I just wrote down all the stuff, and I'm a wee bit into it, that kind of thing. Like, I like it just for fun. Do you know what I mean? Just for a kind of thought experiment. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I like to just kind of like the world is boring enough as it is. You know what I mean? So you need to have a bit of fun with it. But the video for that was like impossible to do. And all that was I don't know if you've seen it. It's all stop motion animation all the way through it.
Mm-hmm.
It took ages. That took me like a full year to do that. And it was just basically every idea I'd had for that year. I'd put it all into verses. Kind of like that song "We Didn't Start the Fire." And it's like da 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 da. What is it? And it's like he's put so many references into like wee verses. I was trying to do that with that song, and just make a wee catching. But and then I remember when we went to release the album, I thought Egyptians and Englishmen's a shite title. And I was thinking I've got Granny's Conspiracy, and then I thought, well, Granny's Crazy Conspiracy sounds better. And then I remember thinking, oh, that's like that View song. I better not call it that because folk will know. And then I was like, do you know what? Like, oh, I'm just going to do it because it sounds good. Granny's Crazy Conspiracy sounds better than Egyptians and Englishmen.
Mm-hmm.
And Albion was a funny one because I didn't not even know that was a Libertine song, or is it not a Pete Doherty
Oh,
song?
it's a Baby Shambles song. They're
Uh,
both Baby Shambles songs.
So I hadn't heard Albion, but I remember they used to sing that one. Is it? Was it the Man Who Would Be King, where they says, "Arcadian dreamers all fell through. The Albion sails on course."
Mm-hmm.
Is that? I think that's that song. I
Uh-huh.
remember thinking that was an amazing lyric, and I remember thinking, I don't know, just it's just good imagery in it. Like it's a kind of like imagining a world that used to exist, and folk were building big ships out of oak and sailing across the world and adventuring. And you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I just thought it was quite cool.
The Albion's obviously got that mod connection as well with the hotel down in Brighton. Because
Uh,
whenever I'm down in Brighton, I always fucking make a point of going there. I love all the mod stuff down there.
uh, I Fuck Forever was like, I remember it was just kind of, I'd had the idea for a song title, and I think I'd been like 17 and thought that maybe nobody knew that song apart from me, and I thought, I'm going to that bar. And then I think I actually remember writing the riff first, and then sitting in my room and and I thought, right, I'm going to write a pop song here. And like just the whole thing was just me trying to write a pop, like construct Lego brick pop song. Do you know what I mean? So I think it seems a bit like when you're listening to it. And then Fickle Finn's Cammy's song, he just came out of the studio one day and he was like, I've got a song, Fickle Finn. So he sings it. And that was always my favourite bit live because I'd be like, "Ah, right, I'm taking a break now. Cammy's going to sing." And he's like, "Stop fucking saying that." And I looked at him and they're playing it. And then like, I think we'd came in and showed us it, and then I was jamming with him, and then I just came up with a riff like 20 seconds after they'd showed me the song, and then that was it.
Brilliant. Gig wise, then for the rest of the year, April Paisley Food and Drink Festival again. June you played Dunfermline, you played Classic Grand in Glasgow. Then you done Doon the Water Festival in Dunoon
That was amazing. Aye, that was a brilliant weekend.
and Metro and Saltcoats, and then finished the year in Dunfermline as well. Says something about a live album, so I've no found a live album anywhere. What was the story with that?
We done a gig in Dunfermline. It was a kind of, see what I was saying about when we met Aidan, and we done a couple of
Mhm.
gigs up there, met loads of mates and stuff, and then they were doing some mad festival. It was like an illegal festival they run in a field where they just get petrol generators and build their own
Right.
stages and stuff and get folk to play. But we
So,
went and it was like maybe about 20 folk there or something, but it was good. And
right.
then it was the guy there, the sound engineer guy there was like steaming and he like just drinking bucky and stuff. Like, we had to do the sound for him and all that. And then he was like, weird, I want to record a live album and I want you to do it. And I was like, all right. So we went and done it, but it was all a bit mental. Like, we'd done that thing with the bus and everybody's steaming and the guys that were running it were steaming, and then like they didn't record it properly, and then I had to re-record my guitar at home and send
Right.
it to them. But it was
Right.
only released on cassette tape,
Right.
and I've got loads of cassette tapes, and I think it is out its own Bandcamp or something, but it doesn't sound good. It's no like see, the clips for it. See the phone recordings, they all sound better than actually like the DI of the mic and the guitar, because
Hmm.
the DI of the mic and the guitar, like, the drums don't sound like cat. It sounds like, do you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's no, I don't know. I don't think folk do live recordings properly anymore. Like
I,
you need to do maceless room mics if you're gonna do it.
I mean, I don't really like a live album, to be honest. Like, obviously, big into Richard Ashcroft, but that live album he brought out, it's doesn't it? I like to hear like a recording, like the actual recording,
Uh,
or go and see it live.
Go to be live. Live at Leeds is about the only good
Mm.
live album ever. You know what I mean? Made, I'd say.
And obviously, up in Dunfermline, that was the boys at Fanga Records. Then was it they boys?
Aye, it wasn't really. Aye,
Because I had one of them. I had one of them on a few years back as well.
aye,
Craig Burrell for Barrel and
aye,
Biscuit,
Pearl
I
and
think they're
Biscuit.
called. But if he was anything to do with fucking sound engineer, he's fucking
Aye. It was
he
all
likes
just,
it.
they
He
were all
likes a
maniacs.
berry man.
They're all just crazy maniacs. They were all bit steaming and fucking full of it.
Aye, because I met them. Went to see the Paddingtons
Aye,
in Glasgow, and Barrel and Biscuit. I think they support it, and Dove support it. And that's how I met. That's how I got into them. And that night, the two twins were there as well. I don't know if you know
Runtown.
them.
Aye,
Ah,
aye, they're
fuck.
maniacs.
They two are fucking wild as fuck.
And they were like coming up and trying to, like Aiden was playing a forest and they were coming up and trying to play drums while he's playing, and then Aiden fucking flung his guitar off and he's trying to fight them on stage and all that. And, aye, it was maniacs.
Ah, totally fucking
In fact,
wild,
well,
man.
that's why we called it the Battle of Dunfermline, because we were halfway through the gig and a riot started, and because we'd brought up a bus full of your mates, and then I think somebody was trying to get him at my missus, and then they've jumped in and hit the guy, and then fucking ended up a big riot. The police are outside and all that, and folk are getting lifted, and we had to stop the gig, and we're running outside and all that. It was mental, and that was kind of ruined it. Like I don't like doing things like that. Well, no, I'm sick of being like just all lads, lads, lads. You want to actually do proper
Ah,
quality stuff, like concentrate.
totally, man, totally. So, and that leads us into this year. So we're halfway through the year. Started out, the first gig that I can see was Paisley Food and Drink Festival.
Aye,
Then you released Flower of Life, the single. You released that in May. You've played a couple of festivals. You played Sound in the Light Festival. Then you released the album. You played Audio in Glasgow, and then you played the Sounds Beautiful festivals. Second album under your belts. This is obviously where I come in. Open Your Mind is the song that I heard. I said sounds heavy. Charlatans, man. Love it, man. I played it about fucking 6 or 7 times a day. So how the second album come about? How does it feel to have two albums out so quickly? Like in 6 years, man. Some bands wouldn't release an album in that first 6 years.
No, the Pirate Song was one of the first songs I wrote. Buttercup Meadow we wrote. That was one of the first ones. Take My Hand was one of the first songs I ever wrote as well. So a lot of it's like stuff that's been floating about, but I just never recorded it because I wanted all the poppy stuff at first, and that's all the more kind of psychedelic stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like I wanted that, like in my head, Albion and Fuck Forever and all that were more poppy, and I thought they were going to like,
Mhm.
take off a lot more. So, but then now we're in this album, and it was like, well, we've kind of realised we're not going to be Oasis, but we just want to actually like
Should be.
make quality music. Do you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
we've done that album. We also discovered there was a guy in Ayrshire just down the road for us that recorded Jason Stewart, and he's amazing. No, Jason Shaw, sorry, Jason Shaw for Fuzzface Studios. And he's a legend. Like he's brilliant and like so we're recording that album and he's like getting us to do things like backwards guitars and giving me like all different guitars, Nashville guitars and so we got loads of different cool sounds and tones that we didn't get in the other albums. So I think it's a lot more detailed, this album. There's a
Mm,
lot of cool stuff, there's a lot of weird psychedelic stuff. Like the middle bit of Maritime Magic, we've got backward guitars and tambourines and all the kind of who noise like
hmm
you know what I mean? We've got a lot of kind of more psychedelic stuff with this album.
Well, that Take My Hand as well. Listening to that, that's got a wee bit of the Laz on it as well. I thought, man, that's
Aye.
sounding mega as well. So what's kind of the reception been like for that? Obviously, it's only been out about a month. So how's that been?
Aye, well, we're kind of murder for, I don't know, like organising ourselves and stuff. Like, I think we're good live, we're great live, and we're good at like, writing songs and playing music, but we're no good at promoting ourselves or doing any of that stuff. So we'd agreed that we were going to, in the run up to the album, we were going to do a reel every week, a different song. But
Hmm
then we just ended up not doing that. I think I'd just bought a new house, so I'd moved into my first house with my missus. And one of the bass player Cammy had broke his foot and things like that, and Jack was going through. So it ended up we had these gigs coming up, and like it took me ages to like get to the point where I doing a festival tour, and then we hadn't even rehearsed for it, or we hadn't even met up for about like 3 months. And then I was like, right, are we cancelling these gigs or are we playing it? And then it was like, right, we'll just so that kind of gave him a kick up the arse, and then we did it. And then we were on the drive down, and Cammy's like, "Oh, our album came out yesterday," and I'm like, "What? I meant to cancel that." Because I just did that much stuff on. I'm trying to like plaster the house and like fucking like rip wallpaper down in my grandpa's painting and stuff like that. So he had all that going on, and then I'd meant to cancel the album, but I'd left my laptop in the house in my mum and dad's house, and I didn't have it here.
Right.
And like you're working full time, so I didn't have like any chance to actually stop it from coming out. But it's out now, and it's good enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what we like here. Do you know what I mean? We just do think mad things like that.
Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, I can agree with that because obviously when I tried to contact you, was it last week?
Aye,
And it turns out it was your mum I was texting with it because.
aye. Do you know what I mean?
So apologies to your mum, but I found you eventually. It's all worked out in the end. So that album's out next week, Friday, as you play my cools.
That was a cool one. That was see the guys from Brogale.
Mm-hmm.
When we released the Butt Fast on the Wine video, he reached out to us and messaged us saying that he runs the gigs at McCool's for Vicar Street Social, and he said he wanted to get us on to play. And then there was a pure firestorm with the fucking punks from Belfast that thought we'd ripped it off, and I was like, no, it was fucking. I'd actually emailed Running Riot for it, and like I says, do you mind if we record this song? And the guy's like, I no bother. And then I was like, right, sound. And then we like got the cover rights and all that, and I put it down as a cover song. Then we'd released it, but because I hadn't put in the song title, you know what I mean, I'd put it on YouTube as Ocean Views official music video, but fast on it wine. And they'd all
Mm-hmm.
went daft, trying to say we'd ripped it off, and we were trying to no give them credit and all that. I'm like, listen, fucking emailed the band, you know what I mean? And then the singer for the band, like the guy we'd emailed, didn't tell the singer, so the singer's then going, well, I've not been told. I'm like, well, and then I sent him the screenshot, and I'm like, look, I fucking went on your website and like emailed the link that was there, and he was like, oh, well, that was only one member of the band you asked. You didn't ask the rest of the band. I was like, oh, fuck off. So after that, like, we'd get a big like, campaign of hate against us because folk thought we were ripping off Running Riot. We won it, but I don't know. It was funny. So like, I thought because of all that they weren't going to get us on the gig anymore. But
Right.
he texted me last week saying, "Do you want a date?" And I was like, "Aye, all right, cool." So it's like it's good to go back to Glasgow for like playing for somebody that isn't a vampire because he's a good band. And the missus is right into them, and so is all her family. So I reckon that'll be quite busy.
Mm. McKill's a good venue as well.
Uh,
Cracking venue. So after that, then, what's the kind of the rest of the year looking like for you? Obviously, if you've got any plans, I mean, you've alluded that you don't really, you are quite disorganised at the minute.
uh,
What you looking at?
uh,
Anything come up?
no, well, I've been recording. We've got like 3 albums recorded on cassette tape in my garage. So we've got loads and loads of tunes, but it's just like how much money can you spend going and recording albums? You know what I mean? Like, you can only afford to do like, one a year if you're doing that. And like, the boys are getting married this year and stuff. So I don't know. Funds are looking tight. And we're not getting any younger. So I don't know. We'll see.
Mm.
I don't know how much longer we'll be doing this for, but We got loads of good gigs for see when we done that Standing a Light, so that's all kinda like freedom festivals, and they're all mad conspiracy folk, and they kinda liked us. And it's funny 'cause I think we know what we want to be like Gary Anderson gets us loads of good mod gigs, so we've been mods for a while, and then the conspiracy theory folk liked that Granny's Conspiracy song, and then they were Flower of Life, so now they're putting it as their like main song of the festival and all the
Right.
trailers and stuff, so they were getting pulled in all different directions, and I don't think any of us know what we are, but we're just happy to play anywhere, do you know what I mean? We're no any.
Did you take your granny Maureen Dunn with you? For
No, but she was buzzing with
I
the
need to take her down the next time.
but we played Standing a Light and they liked us that much that they got us back down to like 3 other gigs. So
Hmm.
they want us to play in Chester in the end of next month and go back next year for another gig. So there's loads of stuff like that just keeps coming. Do you know what I mean? Like as soon as I think it's by folk just messages and want us to do stuff, and then that's kind of kept us together for so long. It's like, well, we've still got this to do next month or this to do the next month. But I've been writing loads of good songs. And I want to get them recorded. Do you know what I mean? Like we've recorded this. We've wrote this song, One Man Union. That's probably the best song we've ever wrote, and we've been playing that live, and it's been really, really good. And I'd like to go and record that, so we're talking about recording that in September. So we'll see what happens with that.
Well, fingers crossed. I'd like to come and see you this year. I would. He came to McKill's next week, but I'm away down to England as of tomorrow. So,
What you
um,
up to? You away on holiday?
I'm away down to the in-laws, but while I'm down there, I'm going to see the Cribs.
Uh,
They're playing a big gig in London, so I'm going to see them. But any other time I'd have been at McKill's, but hopefully I'll catch you some point this year.
I think we might have a gig in the Classic Grand coming up, but I can't say too much about
Classic Grand's a good wee venue as
that.
well. So that's about it. Obviously, I'll try and get this episode out before the McCool's gig. So if I do, there'll be a link for people if I want tickets. But that's about it.
Aye.
Other than the last part of the podcast, obviously being called Time for Heroes. I asked my guests to pick 4 heroes to come for dinner. Why are they your heroes, and what are you cooking for them? They can be any walk of life. It can be musicians, sports people, family, whoever you want. It can be dead or alive, but whoever you class as a hero.
Right, Lee Mavers is the first one.
Mhm.
Singer for the Lads, because he's a mystic genius and I want to know his secrets. John Power is the second one because he was a bass player in the Lads and he went on to make Gast, which is one of my favourite bands ever.
Mhm.
And then probably I'd say John Lennon because why not?
Well, exactly.
And then who else? I'd probably say for the last one, probably say Paul McCartney just because it's the first one I thought of. But anyway, I'd be cooking all day breakfast, 100% fryer
Oh,
because that's my
that's
specialty.
that's me. That's banging. And I four Liverpool guys here. Obviously, you can tell that influence for been down south.
Uh,
For the Scal boys. Obviously, I've had one of them on the podcast already.
have you? Aye.
Aye,
Who did you have on?
it's John Power. I was going to say Paul McCartney, but that was okay. I've had John Power on. Aye, absolute classic guest,
Aye.
man. Brilliant guy. I can't make you tell me a story about socks or something, how he doesn't like socks. I
Ha.
need to go back and fucking listen to it.
Well, I'm going to listen to that tonight. That's
Aye.
my homework for the night. Aye.
So a lot of my early episodes were audio only. So it's only this year that I started the video wise. So I think John Powers are just an audio one. But
Aye.
brilliant guest, absolute brilliant guest.
Aye, magic. Aye, I'll be listening to that tonight.
Aye, and I'm well impressed with that fry up as well, man. That's fucking you can't beat that, and you can't fuck that up either.
Aye, that's my favourite, man. That's the best. Aye. What
But
would you? In fact, I'd change one into Robbie Burns actually.
well,
That would be a great dinner guest.
we'll have Robbie Burns as well.
Aye.
Good Ayrshire connection there as well. Aye.
Aye.
But it's been an absolute pleasure. As I say, if this is out in time, the Ocean Views are playing McCool's in Glasgow. Is it Friday, 17th of July?
Aye. Friday 17th. Aye.
That's Friday, 17th of July. I'll try and get this out. It might be out on the Wednesday or something, so they'll have a couple of days if they want to get tickets.
Aye. No worries. Cheers.
But all the best with whatever else is coming up. And as I say, hope to see you some point later this year at a gig.
Aye. Definitely, mate. Aye. Be good to see you.
But perfect. Absolute pleasure having you on, David.
You too, mate. Aye. Thanks for having us. Anytime.
Thank you.
Right. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks again for listening to the podcast. If you'd like to get in touch, please contact me on the email timeforheroespod@gmail.com, or you can get me on Instagram at timeforheroespodcast. Thanks very much. We'll be back soon with another episode.
Cheers.